Yeah, the room's in a little different configuration than we normally have, so I'm videotaping it, but mainly on the slides. So, all right, so some club business. It's dues renewal time for those of you who are members. The GoBrec Journal had an enclosure that says you're paid up for next year already, or you owe dues for next year, and it will tell you which is which. Dues are unchanged, $30 for next year, this year now. You can pay your dues at the table after the meeting, or you can pay them online using our new website.
And the new website will tell you what the last year of dues that's paid up.
Yep.
If you don't know.
Yeah. You can also vote for your favorite articles, featured collection, and officer elections. You can turn in your ballots, the enclosures at the table, or you can vote online. So I'm going to show you that. So if you log in with your email and you've gone through that process, it will tell you in the upper right your LSCC number and the year you're paid through. And the ballot, if you say lsccweb.org/ballot, you log in and then you fill in your name. It pre-populates your LSCC number in your email. Then you scroll down. Part 1 is officer elections. So you can vote for, everyone's running unopposed. If you really want somebody else, sorry Craig, I played with your name, you can do a write-in. Joe
We don't lose.
Joe did, yeah.
You can only lose 1-0.
Yeah, then you scroll down to the John McCloskey Research Award, and you select up to 3 articles. I did test, this is just a test run. The form will not let you vote for 4, so it's smart enough to require you to only vote for up to 3.
Right, you can't win it this year.
Yeah, and then there's the Cam Awash Literary Award for the best article or favorite article in the GoBrec Journal. Again, you can vote for up to 3 articles. You scroll down, you vote for the favorite featured collection. There were 3, 1 for each issue, so you can vote for your favorite. And then at the bottom on the right, you hit submit. You can only do this once. So if you submit it and you try to say lsccweb.ballot, it'll say, our records show you've already voted. So that's voting. So announcements. LSCC Club Table, as I mentioned, is at 673 on the Bourse floor. And we've got the Lane Brunner collection of double dimes. It's over 700 pieces, plus other types of exonumia. It's a remarkable exhibit with 7 cases. Also, our new website is operational, so you can check your membership status, what you're paid through. You can renew online at any time. You can change your address and profile information. But the old website's still available. There's a link up saying looking for the old website. You can click on that. I'm still maintaining that, at least for a little while. So check that out if you haven't been already. Rich?
Who did the website, the new website?
John Lunston hired a company called More Creative to do it. And John Lunston, our treasurer, was kind of the project manager for that. And it's just been a work of progress for over a year. And it's not all quite there yet, but it's really close. But there's a lot you can look up. Old GoBrec Journal articles. There's hundreds of them that have been stored digitally, so you can search for things. It's really a lot of power at your fingertips.
I believe John paid for all this too.
Yeah, and John actually footed the bill for it. He sold one of his companies, and he did this on behalf of the club. So we really appreciate what he did. So a quick review of the GoBrec gravesite. So in a nutshell, Christian GoBrec died in 1844. He was buried in Philadelphia's old Monument Cemetery. When they ran out of money and became dilapidated, Temple University across the street wanted the land. And they convinced the city to sell them, that basically take the cemetery, sell them the land, and they relocated over 26,000 remains to Longview Cemetery in Rockledge, a Philly suburb. A lot of the graves, unfortunately, were dumped in a mass grave. They tossed the gravestones. Now, Christian Gobrecht and his family were buried in a plot in this big field called the Broadlawn section, and they just put this plate in the ground that says Gobrecht. And his original tombstone is there on the left. And those tombstones were basically sold to developers as ballast. And broken pieces lined the Delaware River banks to control erosion. So, so Bill Boogert, half-dollar specialist, former vice president, had researched Gobrecht's final resting place and discovered all this. And he talked to me about this and said, Gobrecht deserves better. Maybe the club can do something about it. Maybe we can get him a new grave marker. So I went to the cemetery and I talked to the cemetery office, and if we were to do this, how would we do it? What are our limitations or whatever? So I talked to Bill some more about it. And but we were both really busy, and Dennis, our vice president, took over the project and managed it to completion, talking with the cemetery, the vendors who designed the new marker, and worked with the family. And so Dennis is going to come up and talk a little bit about the pictures from this event.
I can't stress enough the work that Bill did in researching where Christian Gobrecht his final resting place. And we talked about this many times, and both Bill and John and I, and we decided we needed to, as a club, to do something about it. So we got all the information that we needed. I sent out letters to anybody named Gobrecht in the Philadelphia and Hanover areas. I sent out about 60 to 65 letters. I got 9 replies, and the grave wanted family approval, so I sent them these people a form. They filled out the form, signed it, sent it back, and we've got permission to do this. Excuse me. I contacted the cemetery and found out what grave marker people that they work with, and I got the name of the company. I called them up, and we designed the grave marker, and they produced it, installed it, and it went really well. And at the ceremony itself, that's Len Augsburg, the club president. It's the first time we've ever seen him in a suit and tie. So it was a really, really well done occasion. We had a great contingent of about 10 or 11 people from the U.S. Mint, including the current Mint director, Ventris Gibson.
I've got the list.
Okay, good. There's Bill Boogert. He gave a speech telling how he found the grave. And that's Tom Urim, the A&A president, and he was in attendance and was really excited about the project. He brought a friend with him. You don't have him on there, right?
Yeah, he's in a later picture.
Okay. And the other contributing factor that Tom did is he made 50 commemorative medals for the occasion. We have one here. We'll pass it around. Craig, you want to start the ball on that? So you can see the medals that were made. Really, really super job to commemorate the occasion. Okay, this is
Joe Mena.
Joe Mena. He's the 14th chief engraver of the U.S. Mint. And he gave a really super speech about, being Christian Gobrecht's successor in a long line of Mint chief engravers, and he really got the fact. In fact, everybody from the Mint really got the history that was being honored, their history, and it was really great to see that and be part of that. So that's Ventris Gibson, the Mint director, and she gave a really great speech complimenting all the Mint employees, past and present. It was really nice.
Yeah, she flew up from Washington for this.
Yep. And who's that? I was trying to figure out
That's
who's.
when we were doing that.
Yeah.
Long hat for this.
There's some of the Gilbert family members showed up. I think about 5 of them were there, and they were really thrilled with what we were doing for their descendant. So yeah, there's Ben Franklin. He was there too. Dusted off the grave.
That's Pat McBride, the president of the Pennsylvania Association of Numismatists, and he is a dead ringer for Ben Franklin. I told him he should carry a circulated Franklin hat in his pocket, so if someone asks me for an ID.
We had a little display of some of the coins that were minted during Christian Gobrecht's time at the Mint. We had a program that John made up, and we had some other items, some of the club medals that have been made, the 40th and 50th anniversaries, a copy of the Gobrecht Journal, and right in the middle there you see the medal that Tom Euro made. Okay, we had a sign-up book, guest book, just like you get see at a wedding or a funeral or whatever. And we got Ventris Gibson and some of the other Mint employees and some of the Gobrecht family members to sign it. And we gave that to Tom Urim for the A&A exhibit.
That's the list of who was there.
Yep.
So the Mint really made a big commitment. I mean, the director, the chief engraver, special advisor, the superintendent of the Philadelphia Mint, a few members from the engraving department, medallic artists. So it was really a big commitment for them. Of course, most of them were in Philadelphia.
Tom Urim, Jesse Kraft, the A&S Society.
That's the new grave marker. At least gives him a little bit of dignity with a Gobrecht dollar on it. So anyway, and thanks to Dennis for managing this project. It was a huge effort, and it was very much appreciated. The Mint was just thrilled, and the A&A, everybody. It just couldn't have been a better day. So thank you, Dennis. Say a few words about publications. So you all should have received the fall Gilbrecht Journal. We're soliciting articles for the spring and summer issues. We've already got a lot of material in hand for the spring issue. Greg Johnson, who's been our editor, now has freed up some of his time. He is going to take over as publisher. So that role was split for a while. But Greg is taking over full duties for that, for the spring issue, and he's going to have the first layout of the next issue done by February 1st. Even though there's still, the deadline is the 1st, he's getting an advanced start on laying that out. So he sees just how much we already have in hand. So if you've got an article, if you think there's a topic you find interesting, odds are others will as well, and so please write it up. It will feature a new cover for 2025 by Jim Maycourt. We're not revealing that until March. And again, the literary deadline is the 1st of February. A reminder, address changes. We send these journals out standard mail, so they are generally not forwarded. So either let us know or change in the website your address so we don't send your journal to your old address. Because sending out a replacement copy costs us money. People have been much better about this. We used to get a couple of people that would send us an address change right after we mailed the issue to them. But that hasn't happened in a couple of issues, so people are getting a lot better about that. So we appreciate it. Craig, please come up and just say a few words about summer seminar. We have a new class we're offering for the first time.
So we have a bit of preparation you have to do since we've never done this before, but I personally, years ago, I collected everything somewhere along the way, but I was putting together a typeset, and I couldn't afford the earliest issues. And I thought, well, just add the mints. And I wasn't like that ad, but all of a sudden it's like, how come these New Orleans coins that are priced the same as Philadelphia coins, I can't find them. And it sort of just got me very interested in why and what they produced in New Orleans. And so for the past, probably close to 30 years, I've been collecting New Orleans coins. And John and I and Lynn have done the last couple Liberty Seated classes. And so I talked them into doing a New Orleans class. So we're going to do a completely new format for this New Orleans class. And I got some feedback from past students about what they really liked, and in a few cases what they didn't like as much. And we hope to have a good course, and we'd love to have you. We always have somebody in the class that knows more than we do. And I don't mean they try to demonstrate, it means they do know more than we do. So there's a lot of discussions that go on with people contributing some interesting information. And if you're interested, please sign up.
Yeah, I do think we're going to have a full class. The catalog is available, so you can register now. If you've never been to summer seminar, it's an amazing experience. You wake up in the morning, have breakfast with others, and you talk coins. And you do that until you're too tired to stay awake, at midnight. And it's just an amazing experience. I am going to also have a little shameless plug. I'm also doing 2 mini seminars that same week. The first one is on U.S. pattern coins, history. There will be a lot. It turns out I own a lot of patterns now, and so these are. And our New Orleans class will be very hands-on. We're going to have a lot of coins, and we're going to pass them around. You get to study them and look at them and enjoy them. The second mini seminar is on U.S. era coins, and I'm not talking about off-center Lincoln Memorial cents. I don't do anything modern. Talking about obsolete coins, so lots of Liberty Seated and Barber coins. I also have a lot of errors, it turns out. So those are the same week as our New Orleans class. Ken?
Okay, good morning. Well, we have a very active program for the first quarter of this year. These are the regional shows we'll be setting up at as a club. Of course, we're here, as you well know. And John and I will be in Houston for the Houston Monday show next week. We'll show up a week from yesterday. And then we have some members that do the Salt Lake area, so they have a show in late January. And then John Frost and Dennis will be in Knoxville at the end of the month. John Lunston and I, and perhaps others, will be in Charlotte February 6th. And then kind of a different show for us this year, but it's in Atlanta, the A&A winter show. And so John Frost, Dennis, and I plan to be there. And of course, we'll have our normal show at the Whitman Spring Show in late March. And then I guess Dennis and I, perhaps others, will be in Georgia for the show in Dawson early April. And then another show in Utah in April, and then John and Joe, I guess, at the New Hampshire show in April. And it continues past that, but that's, as you can see, that's a lot of shows. We're typically involved in about 25 to 27 shows a year as a club. And so it's a very active program, and anybody that wants to be involved in it, that's not currently involved, just let us know.
Okay, thanks, Ken. And if there's any local or regional show that you would like to set up and represent the club, please see Ken. We can give you materials like journals and brochures and things like that. We have polo shirts. Some of us are wearing them. We have, I think we're out of the gold ones from the 50th, or do we have any of those?
We got a couple, I think they're just mediums.
Yeah, but we have the dark blue polos, and so if you're interested in looking like us, You can get them at the table.
That was a big selling point.
Thanks how fast.
Yeah. Okay, we have a special presentation. It's delayed a little bit. We were originally going to do this earlier, but things out of our control caused us to be delayed. And this is, we have a Liberty Seated Collectors Club Hall of Fame. It was a concept originally of Jim Gray and John McCloskey, our longtime president. The club approved it at the 2007 annual meeting. This year's selection committee, 2024's, was Dennis, Glenn, President, Roy Ash, myself, and Greg Johnson. And we solicited member nominations from the membership. So to be nominated, there are some requirements for induction into the Hall of Fame. You must have been a club member for at least 10 years. Deceased members must have been active for at least 10 years. Contributions worthy of being recommended into the Hall of Fame. So significant advances in numismatic research on Liberty-seated coinage, significant advances on numismatic literature, building a significant collection of Liberty-seated coinage, and significant service contributions as an LSCC officer for at least 5 years. So any one of those is, required for eligibility. Not all of them, but one or more of those. The current members of the Hall of Fame, John McCloskey and Cam Awash were the first two inductees. Al Blythe, the halftime specialist, wrote the book that people still use on halftimes. Brian Greer, well-known collector and dealer. Jim O'Donnell from New York, he knew so much. It was incredible. Randy Wiley, the seated half expert. Jerry Fortin, the dime. And our president for a while, Gene Gardner, Jim Gray, Bill Boogert, who you saw at the ceremony, the half-dollar specialist. Our president, Len, myself, and our most recent inductee was Roy Ash. And the selection committee last year approved one new member. So let Dennis take over. He was the chair of the committee, and you can introduce.
Okay. The reason we decided to hold off on this is something we normally do at the general meeting at the ANA. But our inductee was, for whatever reason, not able to be there, so we decided to wait until our inductee could be with us. So, here we go. Normally, we induct a new Hall of Fame member at the ANA annual meeting. This year, however, our inductee was not able to attend the ANA convention, so we decided to wait until he was present at a regional club meeting. Induction into the LSCC Hall of Fame is the highest honor that our club can bestow on a member. And this year's inductee exemplifies it by what it means to be an LSCC Hall of Fame inductee. I'd like to begin by telling you who our Hall of Fame inductee is not. This year's Hall of Fame inductee is not a guy who assembled $1 million collection. He isn't someone who sat cloistered in his basement writing scholarly numismatic books. Although there's nothing wrong with any of that, many of our Hall of Famers did exactly that. It's just not who our inductee is. He is cut from a different cloth. He is a person who views the hobby and its practitioners as a series of living personal experiences. He is a person who has always taken the opportunity to educate, encourage, mentor, and most importantly, take pleasure in the accomplishments of his fellow numismatists. He is a collector's collector. He is a person known and respected and loved by countless many, both within the LSCC and the numismatic community at large. He has served as an unofficial ambassador for numismatics, the LSCC, Liberty-seated coinage, and other numismatic organizations for decades. And in so doing, he has influenced many younger numismatists. His contributions to the club and the hobby are not easily or simply summarized by itemized lists of publications, collections, leadership roles, or awards. His unique impact results from his interpersonal relationships, who he is as a person and as a numismatist. Yes, he has checked all the boxes that we on the Hall of Fame Committee require for induction into the Hall of Fame, but that is not who he is. He's much more than that. He's someone many of us, and I include myself in this, are proud to call friend. He has demonstrated patience, acumen, determination in building his collections of Liberty-seeded dollars and half dollars. He has received awards for leadership, education, from several well-respected numismatic organizations. Okay, thank you. He has been and continues to be a valuable member in both the leadership team and the regional team. This is where we're going to give it away. His most notable collection is his amazing 40-year collection of Liberty-seeded dollar exonumia. Our 2024 Hall of Fame inductee, Mr. AU58 himself, Carl Feldman. Now you know why I kicked you out the Hall of Fame Committee.
Sharp.
We worked hard to keep this a surprise.
Guys, wait.
This may be a mistake, but Carl, the floor is yours.
As most of you know, I've been a member for, 45 years. I remember speaking to John McCloskey so many times on the phone about articles. I'm really in shock. I can go on about stories. I can go on about all my great times being a collector. I've been on the leadership team now for more than a dozen years, talking to new members, enjoying every minute of it. And all I can say is a very, very, from the heart, thank you so, so much. Thank you. Now I know why you took me up to committee.
And why last night when you said, I'm hurting, I might not make the meeting, we were like, no. All right. Congratulations, Carl. Well deserved. All right, so our educational program, Lane Brunner's Double Dimes. So I'll talk a little bit about Lane from the numismatic perspective. He unfortunately lost him a couple years ago, and a great loss to me personally and to the hobby and to a lot of people. At the ANA, he had a number of important positions. Director of Numismatic Curriculum and Educational Development, Numismatic Outreach Director. He was the Deputy Executive Director of Museum, Library, and Research Services. Professionally, his most recent thing was he was the founding Dean of the College of Pharmacy at the University of Texas at Tyler. And there he is. A little history, probably about 13 or 14 years ago, I had announced at an LSCC meeting in Baltimore that I was thinking of doing a book on 20-cent pieces, because there was not one. And Brian, everybody thought that was a great idea, and applauded and all that. And Brian Greer said, hey, do you know Lane Brunner? And I'm like, well, I've heard the name, just the ANA, but I've never met him personally. And she said, I think he was working on a book years ago. You should talk. So he introduced us to each other. And we instantly hit it off. He had in fact started a project about 10 years earlier. But life happened, family, kids, work, and he shelved the project, for a long time. And I had an outline and, some notes on die variety. So we basically sent each other the stuff we had done. And he had done an outline as well and a lot of historical background. And it just was the catalyst to us beginning work on this project. And we basically said, you know, if we work together, we'll get a book sooner than we would individually, and it will be better than anything we could do individually. So we partner up, and there's the book. So we did a lot via email and phone calls for quite a while, but we found a time in the summer of 2013 to actually meet for the first time. I flew out to California. He was at Cal North State at the time, and they were on hiatus, so we had this big conference room, and we had what we called the Double Dime Summit. And Lane had over 600 20-cent pieces at the time. I had like 120. So I wasn't a slouch, but wow. And so we piled them, we categorized them, we piled them, did flip charts with die characteristics, date position, net mark positions. And we just started stacking and counting and analyzing, and it was great. I mean, it was, Lane called it the greatest nerd fest in history of the double dime. It was a solid week of nothing but this. And we got a lot done, and then of course we worked again afterwards. So we published the book, and since then we got together every year. I would do the Houston show, and I'd visit my sister in Arkansas, so I'd stop in Tyler. We moved to Tyler by then. And we got together and we'd show each other some new things we picked up. And we published 3 addenda to our book as we made some discoveries over the years. So we had talked about the second edition of our book. It was going to be about 8 or 9 years. So we had to new research we wanted to publish. We had some new sections we wanted to add. I had done a lot of research on William Barber, the engraver and designer of the coin. I had found a lot of detailed mintage daily records and done some analysis there. We answered some big questions. We generated even more questions. And our time frame for a second edition was delayed by the pandemic, like everything else was. We had planned a Double Dime Summit 2 for a week in January of 2023. Unfortunately, we didn't get to do that. He passed the prior fall. So I was talking to Molly, and I was still going to be coming from Houston to Arkansas, and she said, "Come on by anyway." And she said, "I've got a lot of his stuff, and I don't know what it is," and boxes and crates and safety deposit boxes. And I told her, well, I need to continue the research on the book, because it's still our book, and I needed to borrow the coins to do that research. So I stopped by. I had planned for the first visit 3 days at the house in January, and things going in I knew in advance. So I knew he had over 600 20-cent pieces, because he had them before, and he'd only added to them, but I didn't know how many he'd added. And of course I had added some as well. I knew he had a bust half-dollar collection. It was one of the premier collections, 443 out of the 450 dime averages. So he only needed 7 to go. And he told me, realistically, unless I cherry pick something, there's only really one more I could possibly hope to get for cost, because they're expensive. So I knew about that. But it's like, what else am I going to find? Because all we talked about were 20-cent pieces, 99%, and bust halves, 1%. So I did not know what to expect. Well, so the double dimes, we got them, crated them up. I was going to take those with me. We went to the bank. We pulled out boxes and boxes of bust halves, and they were fortunately well documented. That was really good. But he had 3 boxes of gallery mint, mostly copper, but some silver. Didn't find any gold. I was hoping for that. He also had some A&A mini mint errors, where they showed how to make coins and they deliberately made errors. He had a big box of that stuff. I'm like, really? He had 6 crates of old white AMAX holders of grading sets. Well, he had taught grading at the A&A. What I didn't know is he had his own grading set coins. Crates of them. Okay, he had ancients, over 450 ancients. I never knew about that. And some were really cool. Brian Mike. I had heard of Brian Money. I didn't really know anything about it at the time, but I learned. And he had like 90 pieces of it. And so it was cool. He also had told me about a slab collection where the plastic is the collectible, not the coin inside. And I knew he had one of these, but I had no idea the scope. I mean, it was enormous. And, you know, maybe 100 different grading services, most of them not real, but different generations of holders. Again, crates of this stuff. And then there's the numismatic library. Not only did he have in his office his library on the shelf, but he had boxes, and maybe Molly and the kids had boxed those up, but I mean, there were like 20 boxes, and I took 3 of them that had catalogs and stuff on 20-cent pieces for the 76cc and the branch mint proof. So I got to relieve her of 3 boxes of that stuff. I think she wished I had taken a lot more. Then Molly said, I said, like, I had no idea he collected all this. Did he ever tell you about his 666 collection? I'm like, what? So she goes to his library and opens a cabinet, and she pulls out stuff like that. And apparently, she told me when he was a practicing pharmacist, he had people, like at least a person come in, do you have any 666? And what are you talking about? This stuff is like a 666 cold preparation. They have pills for headaches and fever and malaria tonic and sala. It's snake oil. You read the ingredients or the instructions. I mean, it's hysterical. But you know, the name 666. He had boxes of this stuff. So she gave me a couple, you know, samples so I could put them in my case just as a remembrance. And I was taking them. I was going back through Tyler through the Pan show in Pittsburgh. And I was showing them I was walking back to the table, and someone from like the West Penn Coin Club outside Pittsburgh said, 666, I grew up on that stuff. I'm like, really? And she looked at the thing I had, she said, that stuff tastes like poison. And after, like, it probably was. I mean, there was probably mercury in there, and who knows, but it was just, it was like, oh, this headaches and fever and cold and malaria. Oh, and a laxative too. Oh boy. So it was just fun. But so the 20-cent pieces were boxed up in these red boxes, and you know, I had just gotten an extra safety deposit box, a new 10 by 10 box that I was going to use for swings. But it's like, oh, the stuff that's going on rotation for the exhibits I put in there, so I didn't go all the other boxes. Well, Lane's 20-cent pieces took 1.5 10 by 10 boxes all by itself. Like, whoa. So the enormity of the collection is just staggering. And if you go see it at the exhibit, you'll see what I mean. So there were things he never told me about. Because we were going to get together for another week for our second Double Dime Summit, I'm sure there was stuff that he was going to surprise me with. Like, you didn't know I had this. So he had some new exonumia, blood tokens, chains, things I never knew he had. A couple new errors that I hadn't seen, and he had these 20-cent good for tokens that were produced by businesses to get you to come back to the store in the 20-cent denomination. And you know, and I took a lot of this stuff, you know, I took it all home, and for weeks afterwards, I'm like, where did you ever find this? I mean, that was just what I was thinking. So, just going to show some pictures from the collection. We're talking slabs, raw, exonumia, you know. So stacks and stacks of the different die marriages, and they're all laid out. There's one case for just Philadelphia and Carson City coins. There's 2 cases for 1875 S's. There's a whole case for love tokens and counter stamps and chains. There's another case for good for tokens, and so just stacks and stacks of these coins. This was in our book. I knew about this, but this really cool envelope he had bought at an auction. I think he paid like about $100 for it, I think he told me. But 20-cent piece, 1875, one of the first. And it was to Eckfeldt from Dubois, the coiner. June 4th, 1875. That's really cool. There's no coin in it. Obviously, there had been at one time. Then we have the slab collection. Different companies, different generations. A bunch of PCGS and NGC generations, but a lot of these off-brand holders. One of my favorite is you'll see the second one from the upper left. There's an AccuGrade slab, and it's mislabeled seeded quarter, but it's a 20-cent piece. That's one of my favorites. But all these, ANI, SGS, AP, I mean, just all these nonsense companies with, and his big slab collection had a lot of those too, with nothing quite like Lincoln cents and Jefferson nickels and things. So mint errors, he has the only off-center Carson City 20-cent piece. The other three known are San Francisco ones. But broad struck coins, clip planchets, the one of two known clamshells. I had the other one. We each had one. And partial collars. There were four known. He had one. I had one. So there are a lot that we had, but he had the only double struck 20-cent piece known. But other stuff. Again, where did you find this? A stamp with a 20-cent piece on it. You inked it up and you stamp it, you got a 20-cent peg. What I call drawer knobs, these big, you'll see them, they're this big and they're like used for a handle for a drawer, but it's an 1876 20-cent piece, mock-up. Impressions from the Carson City dies that were dug up. So some of the chains, this one's a pocket watch key, strap. And he had a pocket watch winding key with a 20-cent piece on it. Again, where did you find this? So it was, as much as it was hard seeing stuff and knowing he wasn't there, seeing this was so great, because he was still there with me. And so the book project is still our project. Let's see, what else here? Love tokens, cutouts. I've now put them in really nice Lane's trays for display. These two love tokens, two clovers, they were done at the same time by the same engraver, same initials. They were made together, but you'll notice they've got different toning. Lane serial numbered each of his 20-cent pieces. The first one he ever bought was numbered 1, then 2, then 3. Those two he purchased years apart because their numbers were like 200 apart. So these two love tokens were together, then they got separated. And then Lane, because he bought all of them, he found, reunited them. He bought them at very different times and brought them back together. But they their color is a little different because they were stored differently after they were separated. So that's kind of cool. Then you'll see a lot of these coins, they were instantly confused with quarters when they were the biggest flop the U.S. ever had as far as a coin goes. So a lot of them got stamped with the 20 to tell people this is not a quarter, because people were taking these as quarters and shortchanging themselves by mistake. So you'll see some of those, and some of these, or some other coins, had their edges carved or reeded to try to pass as quarters. So we had maybe a dozen of those. Some more love tokens, a Lizzie and counter stamps, cufflinks, buttons, and then good for tokens. These privately made, plastic, metal, some wood, some other things. Good for 20 cents in trade. Good for 20 cents in drink. 7 Cedars Casino, 20 cents. On the far left there, good for 20 cents. Good for 20 cents in beer. And these things, I never knew about these, but these are actually fairly inexpensive items, but they're cool. And of course, he bought anything that had a 20 cents on it. So a lot of these. And he found somewhere a die that was used to make some of these good for tokens. You can see it says good for 20 cents in trade. He found the die that made some of those. There's one of my favorites is good for a 20-cent Dr. Pepper. So that's one of my favorites. So what will happen to the collection? I am asked that fairly frequently. This show is the first time the entire collection has ever been displayed, and it will be the last time. My research with the coins is nearing an end. I'm making sure I have all the died states and documenting that, and I have purchased some of the collection already, and I'm not done doing that. I want to keep the exonumia, the love token, all together. I mean, that was 40 years of collecting, and I want to preserve that together. The mint errors. But I'm going through, and since we published the book, both Lane and I have upgraded some of our coins. And there will be a new plate coin. So a lot of them were like, my coin is the new plate coin, but the ones where his coin's the plate coin, I need to get that because I want to keep the book's reference collection intact. So if it's in the book and it belongs to one of us, I want to keep it together so we have a joint reference collection for the book. Now some LSCC members over the months have said like, oh, I'm going to want some of these when it's time to start selling some of them off. So a couple people, like Dennis said, I want this 1876, this one. And one of our members that has helped us a lot with the book wants to get as close to a die marriage set as we can put together from his holding. So, I could probably, through just a club, probably move 50 or 60 of these coins without even thinking about it. So if you are interested in those, they're not available yet, but it won't, probably in the spring, maybe by the Baltimore show, is when they can start being made available. People said, how are you going to get rid of, all these coins? And first of all, fairly slowly. But, again, a lot of them will be up front from interested people from the club. So that's what's going to happen. I'm going to have, Bill Booger did this for his $50. I'm going to have stickers made up that say Lane Brunner collection. And they will be affixed to all of those coins before we sell them. So you'll have a piece of Lane's collection that will be documented that it came from. What is undoubtedly the largest set of 20-cent pieces that has ever been assembled and probably ever will be. So it's just, so please come and check out this the exhibit, and when we can, we'd be happy to pull things out for you to get a close look at. So don't miss this unique opportunity. It will not come again. A little teaser for the Spring Gilbrecht Journal. It was the last thing I was able really to tell Lane about something I discovered before he got ill. An LSCC member owns the finest 1875S branch mint proof. It's graded proof 64 cameo branch mint. I found out when he saw my coin in my collection in Chicago, he said, oh, I got the finest note. I'm like, you have the Roy Roush proof 64 cameo? Yeah, oh, I need to see that. So we arranged to meet, and I said, I want to get pictures for the book for the second edition. So we met at the Mount Kisco, New York coin show, and he brought a box, including this coin, and I got to look at it. And I took pictures, and then I'm looking at it carefully, and I'm like, wait a minute, looking at the reverse die. Where's the diagonal die line? It's not there. That's on the branch mint proof reverse. Well, gee, maybe this is the first strike, and they repolished the die, and that's when the scratch. But then I looked at the mint mark, and I'm like, wait a minute. This is a different die. How can that possibly be? I'm going to end the story there because it's going to be all written up in the spring issue of the Gilbrecht Journal with pictures and theories and everything. But I did talk to John Danruther because he's working on his book on silver proofs now, and I've been working with him on the 26th section, and I told him about this. And again, he's like, how is that possible? He said, I remember that coin. I didn't screw up, because he's the one that said it was approved. I didn't screw up, did I? I'm like, no, it's approved. So we spent a little time discussing how this could possibly be, but it will be in the article. So the second issue book, the work is very much underway. I was in Greece for 3 weeks. I worked on it a lot there, and over the coming year, I did have several people to say, hey, now you're doing it on your own. If you want any help, if there's anything, So I've had several people offer to help. I appreciate it, but this was our project, Lane and my project, and I wanted to stay that way and not bring in anyone else. I do have to get to the Smithsonian to check a couple things out. I have to get to the National Archives. There's a couple pieces of data, if it still exists, I need to find. Been adding sections to the book. I've been adding stuff to the existing sections of the book. And what's really cool is I've been publishing the Barber Journal. This is my 11th year I'm starting. And I published the Go Brick Journal for a few years. I've learned so much about publishing that the new book is going to look, it's going to be, I can't wait to see it. It's going to be, and I've already started mocking up a cover possible design. It's not finalized yet, but that's kind of an idea. But you see, I'm layering the coins, shadowing them. I've got things in the background overlaid. And, there's some other things I want to try, but the new book is going to look really good. There's some questions I have to figure out. Is it going to be full color? Is it going to be the spiral bound black and white with colored plate pages? Like to have here's a bunch of the love tokens in color and things. My timeline, I'm hoping that at this show a year from now, I've got the books for sale. I don't know if I'm going to actually make that, but that's kind of my target. We'll see. But I have to update the website as I go, so it's a really big project. So I'm trying to get rid of some other responsibilities so that I have time to do this. So that's just a tribute to Lane. Please come see the exhibit at 673. I will be glad to show it to you. Maybe yes, Tim.
Did he ever own a 76cc, 111?
No, Lane never got a 76cc. I'm working on one, a circulated, clean one. He also did not get the proof-only issue, so he never got a 1977 or 78 because that's one diameter, just not so interesting. Plus, they're thousands of dollars, and he was doing bus tabs and all this other stuff. So, but no, he never got that coin. I hope one day to complete the set, and. So, yeah. And the way we did with the mint errors, it's funny, because I just wanted one. He wanted them all. So if there was a time when he had a type of error and I didn't have it, he would let me bid on it. But he said, but if you decide not to bid on it, let me know. But, so, that's why there were a lot of places where he had one of them, I had one of them. He had one, I had one. But sometimes with Broadstruck, I had one, he had 6. So, again, the enormity of the collection is just staggering. Please come down and spend some time with it. So.